I want to talk a little bit of LSU football as PFF put out the top 10 quarterback rooms heading into the 2025 season. Now, keep in mind, this is not individual players. This is a room as a whole, starter and backup. I'll run through the top 10 here pretty quick. Number 10, it's Ohio State. Makes a lot of sense. There's talent there. You have Julian Sayin, Tavian St. Clair, the redshirt freshman. Lincoln Keenholz is there as well. He was a top 15 quarterback recruit back in 2023. I think that's Julian Sayin's job to lose. A lot of talent between him and Keenholz. However, neither of them have the experience, so I get that right there. Number 9, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think this is a terrible spot for them on the list because I don't think they should be on the list. You have redshirt junior Ty Simpson. He's likely your starter. I'm not saying Ty Simpson can't be good. What I'm saying is he's been at Alabama for 3 years now. He's had opportunities to take the starting job, and he couldn't do it. You guys know how I feel about Jalen Milroe, and Ty Simpson couldn't even beat out Jalen Milroe. Now, you do have Keelan Russell, the 5-star, coming in. You have Austin Mack, the redshirt sophomore. He was a 4-star in 2023. So, I mean, there's talent, but, I mean, when you're telling me Ty Simpson's the leader of the clubhouse, that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me until he proves it on the field. Number 8 is the Auburn Tigers. I may actually put Auburn even a little bit higher on this list. So, Jackson Arnold's going to be the starter. I don't think there's any question about that, but Ashton Daniels, he'll be the backup. He started at Stanford the last 2 years. So he comes in, true freshman Deuce Knight, looks like he could be the future of the program. He was a 5-star in this last recruiting class. That is a quarterback room with a heck of a lot of talent. You have Penn State at 7, Miami at 6, Clemson Tigers at 5, you have Florida at 4, Arizona State 3. Number 2, you have the SMU Mustangs because Kevin Jennings is back at quarterback after taking over the early part of last season and really never looking back. He led that team to a college football playoff appearance. And then Tyler Van Dyke, very proven backup, 6-year senior. He's going to be the backup to Kevin Jennings this year over there in Fort Worth. And the number 1 quarterback room in the entire country, according to PFF, is the LSU Tigers. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier is, in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in all of college football. He's a legitimate Heisman candidate. He threw for the 5th most passing yards in the nation last year, but he's the leading returning passer in college football, meaning no quarterback coming back this year threw for more yards last season than did Garrett Nussmeier. Also behind him is Michael Van Buren. And we saw Michael Van Buren last year at Mississippi State. It was his true freshman season. He was thrown into the fire after Blake Shapen went down, and he did some nice things. Now, at times he looked like a freshman, but he showed the ability to go in there and make plays for you. Completed about 55% of his passes. He had almost 2,000 yards, 11 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. And that's being thrown in there as a true freshman due to injury. And let's be honest, he didn't have a lot of talent around him over there at Mississippi State. So you bring in a guy who's a veteran. I mean, this was a surprise when LSU got him out of the portal, because when Blake Shapen announced he was returning to Mississippi State, that appears to be Jeff Lebby's guy. Michael Van Buren's on the move, and you're like, okay, he's going to go somewhere where he believes he can be a starting quarterback, but he trusts Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan enough to come here, sit behind Garrett Nussmeier for a year, and maybe be primed and ready to take over in 2026 as the starting quarterback at LSU. Van Buren, though, like you can break down his numbers all day long. That's fine, but he had 8 starts in his true freshman season. But get this, his first 2 came on the road against big-time defenses, Texas and Georgia. He had a 79 passing grade, according to PFF. No turnover-worthy plays in either of those games. So he did a really nice job early on, and it wasn't like he was eased into it. I mean, you got to go on the road to Texas and Georgia in your first 2 starts. That's about as tough as it gets. You also have Colin Hurley. He was a 4-star in last year's recruiting cycle. Now, if you remember, Colin Hurley reclassified. So he essentially should have been a senior in high school last year. Can Hurley make that jump? Now, he wasn't here the entirety of spring. He got into that car accident that hopefully it appears like he's fully recovered from. We'll see what happens there as more comes out about that. But Colin Hurley is a guy that this coaching staff was very excited about. And then don't forget, you moved Jawan Johnson to quarterback in the spring because of the absence of a Colin Hurley. Now, is Jawan Johnson going to go in there and throw passes down the field to win a game for you? Probably not. But look, when the decision was made to move Jawan Johnson to quarterback, we sat here in this spot and just talked about all the high school accolades for Juwan Johnson, right? He was statistically one of the best high school quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana ever, as far as high school football goes. He's going to be your change of pace guy. If you need a quarterback to go in there and run, he can't, because Van Buren doesn't really run either. Colin Hurley, again, we haven't seen much of him in action, and we know Garrett Nussmeier isn't much of a runner. If you need a running quarterback, Juwan Johnson is your guy. So he's kind of the wild card in this room. But quarterback isn't the issue for this team. Like, even if PFF would have put LSU at 1 or 10, don't care, wouldn't have changed my opinion about this room whatsoever. You could poke a lot of holes in this team. You can look at the defense and you can say, oh, they're a little inexperienced on the defensive line, even though I think they did a nice job in the portal. Offensive line's a question mark. You lose 4 of your 5 starters from a year ago, and you're not even sure DJ Pickett's going to play the same position. But if you look at Garrett Nussmeier coming back, his second year in this program as the starting quarterback, you have Caden Durham next to him in the backfield. Caden Durham, his impact on this team was underrated, if that makes sense, last year. The first 3 games of the year, you couldn't do anything. I mean, it really wasn't until South Carolina on the road where Caden Durham made himself known. And you can say, okay, well, the O-line's a big question mark. Yeah, but you couldn't run the ball last year for the majority of the season. Caden Durham's going to be better. If that offensive line can be a decent run-blocking team, you might actually be better in the running game. It all depends on what that O-line looks like. That's the big question mark for you on offense. Talked about this a little bit yesterday when I was reacting to Joel Klatt's list, talking about, Garrett Nussmeier cutting down on the turnovers. He did that late in the season. We talked about it all season long. Last year's offense was limited because you had no true deep threat because Chris Hilton couldn't get healthy. Once Hilton got healthy in the last 3 games of the season, Garrett Nussmeier, 72% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. And Chris Hilton was a big reason why. Look at all the potential deep ball threats here. Like, the first deep ball that Garrett Nussmeier truly hit last year was against UCLA. It was Kyle Parker down the sidelines for a touchdown. Still, like, in my opinion, the best ball Garrett Nussmeier threw all year long. And he threw some good ones. Kyle Parker will be back. He actually didn't return after that game. He was out the rest of the season due to an injury. He's back. Hilton's back. Xavion Thomas, Aaron Anderson, Berrien Brown. Jelani Watkins is undersized, but can he make an impact? We know how fast he is. You have so many weapons to play with in this offense. And that's just the deep ball guys. I mean, you have a 6'5" receiver coming in and Nick Anderson, who I'm excited about. Your tight end room, top to bottom, might actually be better than a year ago. Like, I know Mason Taylor was great, but you bring in Bauer Sharp, Trey'Dez Green's a year older, and you have Donovan Green from Texas A&M. That's a really good room as well. The big question mark on this team is offensive line. If the offensive line can hold up, you have a second-year starter, a fifth-year senior in Garrett Nussmeier. The last 2 times you had fifth-year senior, 2-year starters at quarterback was Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. They won the Heisman Trophy, and Burrow went and won the whole damn thing in the national championship. It's a lot of expectations to put on Garrett Nussmeier, and I'm not saying he's going to do that. I'm just saying that's the blueprint. We've seen it before. We have seen it multiple times here in recent history. You have all the weapons you need on the outside, more so than you did a year ago. I think your tight end room might be the most underrated group in the entire team. I think your running backs are going to be better. Caden Durham's going to spearhead that. Caleb Jackson's returning. You have 2 of the best running backs in the country coming in Harlan Berry and JT Lindsey. Everything Garrett Nussmeier needs to be successful, he has. One thing you look at is the offensive line. If that can hold up, I think this offense could be as good as any in the country here in 2025.